Alright, so per request in the Discord, today we're going to be talking a bit about some Orisa stuff, mainly Halts and Halt usage. So the most common way to use Halt is to combo it with an ability such as a Roadhog hook. That's like the most common. You can also do it with like Ana nades, or even just telling your Widowmaker that you're about to pull, or usually communicating your pulls is a very good idea because then your DPS will be able to back up on those whenever you do launch them. Like you can get a Widowmaker headshot in, stuff like that. So I mean, what a lot of people do, they just get in the caught up throwing it. Like that doesn't do anything for you, obviously. So whenever you want to do this, you can always plan to launch it above shield at about just barely above shield. You don't have to go much higher, and then just pull them up, and that'll be enough to get your teammates to combo in. Maybe you throw a hook right over it, but you want to always make sure that you're comboing, because you have a win condition every like 8 seconds, right? Every time that's off cooldown, you basically have a win condition for your team, and it's very important that you use this correctly. And so the first way that I would say to use Holt is just to combo it with an ability such as hook. And then the second way to use it is to displace, and this can mean a lot of things, because a lot of times you'll see yourself in Orisa 1v1s where the number one thing that matters is like the shield battle. In this current meta on the ladder, you'll often end up in Orisa v Orisa comps, and it's whoever can do the more damage to the other shield is the one that's going to win 90% of the time. So you just want to make sure that you're always doing damage to their shield, but how can you use your Halt in a way that's going to give you a shield advantage? Well, let's say you're playing a corner, as one does with Orisa, and you're hiding half your shield. If you have a defensive advantage, and then they come up to set up their shield, say on that corner, then you can be using your pull to push them further back, further away, and just immediately after they place their shield, then that effectively decreases the amount of DPS that they'll be able to do to your shield, because you have pushed them back further. And that's a really small case, but other good ways that you can displace, especially when a team has a defensive advantage, and I'll give a better example of this, is just by taking them off of high grounds. Well, that was huge. You get the idea, though. Pulling them off of high grounds. The other way to use your pull is to get eliminations by pulling them off the map, but that's not always practical or convenient. So I just want to take a look at places, different maps that you can use your Holt at and get a good advantage. Let me pull up Junkertown, and I'll put myself on attack. So this is one of my favorite examples, and the goal here isn't that you learn this example and then now you use that and then you're done. You wanna understand why this is a good example, and then try to apply it to your own gameplay and other maps. Oftentimes you'll set up right on the payload, and the payload will start rolling out. Now the enemy is going to be set up right around here, and you kind of want to wait for your pull. You want to wait unless you have like a really good pick opportunity. Maybe you could pull above their shield in this area, but generally that enemy team is going to back up behind this barricade right here. And when they do that, your card's going to be about here, and this is the perfect time to launch your pull right there and grab right there. And it's one of my favorite spots, because this entire corner on the top is affected, and it can just pull them all down, and maybe it pulls down half the team. It puts them at a huge positional disadvantage, and that's really good for you on attack. You can capitalize off that very easily, and that one ability can win you all of point A if that fight lasts long enough and they stagger their own deaths in a way they shouldn't. And so that's very good for you, and that's one ability, Halt, which I think is one of the best abilities in the game, winning you that. Okay, so you want to think about how you can apply that to other maps and other senses, but I do want to look at one example from a game I actually played in today, where a team was wanting to Symmetra teleport to point. So this Reinhardt kind of symbolizes the entire enemy team. Obviously the Symmetra is Symmetra. Now my team is set up behind me on the high ground here, and we noticed that on their first push, they're wanting to use a Symmetra teleporter to get them from here to point. And this is a pretty common play if you're running Symmetra on Horizon. So this did catch me off guard the first play, but we were able to stabilize and win that fight. So the next time when they rolled out with the same attempt, I had planned to save my pool, and I had communicated with my team that the second they placed that teleporter down, I'm going to pull. So I send my pull out to about here right after the TP gets placed. Okay, so I don't think everybody gets pulled back. Maybe 2 or 3 people get pulled back to here, and this TP is left in the open, which my team easily is able to finish off, and so they're not able to follow up on that teleporter, right? And that's another way that, now they're down resources. Maybe you got a pick off in that time. It's another way that you can use Halt to displace, because the two ways that we've talked about using Halt are to combo and to displace. Those are like the two major ways you should be looking to use it whenever you're using it. And you can mix it up, like the next drive they got through the teleporter, but because I had Halt on cooldown or something like that, and I had just let them go through, and the second they got here, as they were actually teleporting, I had launched my Halt here, and by the time it got there, it just pulled them right off of their high ground, right off a point, and it displaced them again. Another way that gives them a positional disadvantage, and your team can easily capitalize on that. Okay, and that's just how Holt can carry team fights. So that being said, I think that if you just take a second to really think about how you can use your Holt is so important. If you catch yourself leaving it on cooldown for too long without any good reason, then you're really just losing value as a player. So you should really think about the best ways to be using your Holt in a variety of compositions. I didn't say this, but one really good way you can use it as well, just another example, is say you're getting dove on. You want to save it and try to time when their Winston's going to jump, right? Maybe halfway through his jump, you connect him with the pool that hits right here. It stops his momentum dead distracts. He stops halfway through the dive and he doesn't complete the dive. So, just those sorts of things. You want to always be looking out for what you're playing against and how you want to use Holt in a variety of situations. So I hope this helped. And if you have any questions, just feel free to ask those in the Discord.